Ever since the introduction of Prismatic 5 months ago, the build crafting world has shifted to largely focus on its capabilities and strengths that it brings to the table. While only natural given the subclass's jack of all trades nature, this has led to many builds, both old and new, being pushed to the side while their capabilities are potentially superior to the all new pink subclass when it comes to certain aspects of the game. Today, mainly for those newer to the title, I'd like to discuss one of these builds that has emerged through buffs given to one particular Warlock exotic dating all the way back to Destiny 1. I've named this build the Lifestealer. There are three fundamental aspects for this build to work, the first being the exotic Pulse Rifle, Bad Juju, and its perk String of Curses, which grants bonus super energy on kills, stacking up to 5 times. It should be noted that the Catalyst, while helpful, is not necessary for this build to work, so don't stress about it. This increased super energy on kill starts with our second part of this build, being the Skull of Dire Kara, granting us bonus super energy on kills while Devour is active. The refunded super energy on super kills is also nice, but not the main reason we're using this exotic. This leads us to the third aspect of the build, that being how we proc Devour, that being the Feed the Void aspect, granting us Devour on ability kills, which will mainly be done using our grenade, which Feed the Void refunds for us. As for the other aspect, I choose Child of the Old God over Chaos Accelerant because it provides Weaken, meaning we don't have to use a certain fragment for Weaken, and we get even more grenade energy. This does mean that we need to use Healing Rift. As for which Nova Bomb we're using, as the whole point of this build is to spam Nova Bombs, that's really up to you. I personally prefer Cataclysm. Finally, onto fragments, I use Echo of Persistence for increased Devour, Echo of Remnants for the longer grenade generation, Echo of Reprisal for even more super energy. The final one is mainly up to you. I choose Expulsion because, well, explosions are cool, right? But to be honest, if you wanted to take Echo of Undermining over Echo of Expulsion, that is perfectly fine, but we already have Weaken from Feed the Void, and I don't like that minus 20 Discipline. On top of this, the artifact for this season has a mod called Concussive Reload, which gives us Weaken on grenade hits, which means that Weaken is much more accessible this season, meaning that that as fragment is not needed as much. As for stats, you obviously want to stack into Intellect for this build, as well as Resilience, because we are in Destiny 2024 and this has been the best stat in the game for 3 years. Bungie, do something. As for other stats, your third best bet is probably Discipline. I do see the argument for Recovery, given the faster Rift regeneration and therefore more Child of the Old God. However, Recovery doesn't really do much when we're healing instantly due to Devour. As for the other stats, what you're going to stack into mobility, we're not on a hunter. Don't even try it. And then as for strength, have you seen the Void Warlock melee? Come on. No. As for mods, obviously you want to use a Kinetic Siphon mod, as we'll be using a lot of Bad Juju, generating orbs for Font of Focus. I like this to give me a permanent 90 Discipline. Some may say this is a bit overkill with Devour, but what else am I going to use here, to be honest? I guess you could use like Impact Induction. My opinion, not worth it. I use one-time Dilation to make this armor charge last longer, and a Distribution because this build does use class ability a bit and it's free energy. As for the boots, mainly Absolution, just faster ability on everything, faster ability regeneration, and I use 2 of them because the way my stats are set up, I only need to use a +5 Discipline mod. Void resistance, arc resistance, solar resistance, that's just my standard for chestplate resistance. You can stack into whatever you want. Your weapons for this build, with the exception of Bad Juju, are also whatever you want. This is just my standard loadout when I'm using an exotic primary, but feel free to switch it up to whatever activity you are doing. Moving on to gameplay. There's not really much to say, to be honest. You want to chuck a grenade or melee the moment you get into a fight to proc Devour instantly, and then just go ham with Bad Juju until you get a Nova Bomb. Use it because the whole point is spamming Nova Bombs, and then rinse, repeat. Also spamming Rift whenever necessary for the bonus grenade energy and the Weaken effect. If you want to mid-max your Weaken effect with Child of the Old God, the best time to use it is probably just before using a Nova Bomb on a big target. On top of this, as mentioned before, the other two weapons that you use are really up to you. The fragments are largely up to you, that was just my personal preference. There's not really much else to say in terms of the build when it comes to how you use it or how to build it. I would like to say, however, that this build does very much rely on you getting the most kills in order to benefit from it. So activities like strikes, onslaughts, or raids with high amounts of ad density, such as the first encounter of Crota's End, are by far the best places for this. I don't recommend this in higher difficulty Nightfalls, as you won't be getting as much kills. As for solo dungeons, or just dungeons in general, I do see this having a place. However, I think it would be a bit of a stretch if you were to use this over something like Getaway Artist on Prismatic right now. So that's the Lifestealer build. Overall, it's a pretty good build. It was in no way created by me, at least I wasn't the first person to create it. It got a bit of traction during the first week of Episode Revenant, then it fell behind due to stasis and still the dominant nature that is Prismatic, which is sad considering this build is both one of the most fun builds in the game, at least in my opinion, while also having some pretty significant endgame potential. I think this build is quite good in solo dungeons. Thanks for watching. The rest of the video is just gameplay of this build. Yeah, thanks for watching.
We can't reclaim the stolen light, but we can punish the Hive for their blasphemy. Target every tribute bearer you find, Guardian, and wipe this place clean.
for her subject.